In this video I'm going to show you how we can modify from basic shapes like these rectangular prisms that we've got on the end of this assembly we made in previous videos and change them into something a little bit more complex and not just a standard rectangular prism. So as I showed in the previous video, anything that I edit on these shapes is going to automatically apply in this assembly. So I'm going to go back to the part that I want to edit. So I'm going to edit these ends, a little bit like what I might do for a toolbox, some angles here heading up to a point where I could place a handle. So I'm going to go to those end pieces right along my window on the bottom here, and we're going to select some parameters using our offset tool to draw some angles in here. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the offset tool to decide where I want the points of this angle or angles on each side, where I want them to be. So how far up from the base and then how far in from the sides. So I'm going to start by selecting my sketch tool, and I'm going to select this face. Okay, now to make it a little bit easier drawing wise, I'm just going to select my front view, so I get a, not my front view, sorry, I'm going to select my right view so that I just get this flat section. Okay, so if you select the wrong one, we can always go through up in this top right hand corner here and we can click on different views until we get the one that we want. So it wasn't this one, I've clicked on the wrong one to start with. I'm going to go around to my right view. I'm then going to click on it because that's the plane that I wanted to work in. Now I'm going to use my offset tool. Again, it's next to this pair of scissors, the trim tool, offset, and I'm going to work out how far in I want to come from my edges and how far up I want to come from the base, so that I can draw two diagonal lines that are equal, leaving me a equal bit in the middle here. So I'm just going to pick a relatively standard size to offset from this edge. So I've clicked on the edge, I want to offset inwards, and then I click again and I'm going to input. So I'm going to make it 140 up. Okay, I'm then going to use my offset tool from the edges. I want to go inwards, click again. This time I'm going to go in 40 mil, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So offset tool, inwards, click again, 40, enter. Now from those points, if I go and select my line tool, I can then click on the end points of each of those offsets, alright, and I can join them together in a diagonal. Okay, same thing from the other diagonal. Now the reason I've used the offset tool to do this with these original lines is if I go in and modify the offsets now, the size of them, I can change where the angles are because the lines I've just drawn are anchored to points on those offsets. Alright, so if I make sure I haven't got any tools selected, I've currently got the line tool selected, so I could either go up and click on the line tool, or I could just press escape on my keyboard. What I can do is I can hover over any of these offset measurements, alright, and I can double click on them and I could change them. So say I'm looking at this general shape that I've got here and I wanted to change how it's going to look. If I modify this offset, say to 50, see how the diagonal also moves with it. So same thing here, 50, say I only want to go up 100, okay, and you can see how my diagonals are changing. So I'm going to go back to that original 140 and 40 for each of these. Okay, so I can make edits to this very easily. So I've got the general shape that I wanted. Okay, I'm going to be getting rid of these bits here to leave me with that general sort of toolbox end look. So I'm going to accept my sketch. Okay, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to that view that I had before, the front right view. To get rid of the little bits here that I've got, I'm going to use my extrude tool, just like I have in previous videos. I'm going to click on the two bits I want to get rid of. Instead of adding in the menu, I want to change to remove. Alright, and I need to be removing at least 19 millimeters because that's the thickness. And I'm going to accept that. Okay. Now, if I look at that right-hand view, if I'm not happy with how this looks, if it's not correct, if for some reason I need this top point here, the line to be closer together, and I need to modify, as I just showed before, I can always go back into this original sketch and I can modify it. So let's say I want that top in a little bit closer together, and I want this up a bit higher, I want 160. Okay, when I then accept it, okay, it's going to modify those extrusions as well. Okay, so really simple for us to go in and play around with how something looks shape-wise. Okay, and as I said, everything gets modified. So when I hover over the final assembly, you can see that's what it used to look like. When I click on the assembly though, you can see that it's now updated to reflect the changes that I've made to those end pieces. Okay, so that's how we can do some modifications to just a basic rectangular prism to take some more parts away to generate a particular shape.